Welcome to a special edition of the RetroYuuki Stream Zone, and today we're going to be covering the Streamlabs Stream Hatchet report for the second quarter of 2022, which is to be the report from April to June, excuse me. And if you've never seen this before, basically it's a report. It's like a report card for streaming on the big three platforms of Facebook, Twitch, and YouTube, and it's done every 3 months, but the report comes out usually the during the next quarter. So let's take a look at what we have for you today. So last quarter they actually went up a little bit, but it started to slow down. As you can see here, I have both the quarter one and quarter two reports so that we can compare and contrast at the same time. So no matter which report you look at, Twitch is always going to be number one. So keep that in mind as we dig deep into this report. So this particular quarter, the trend continues where the slowing growth and actually they decline. All three declined this quarter. And last time I was predicting at least one would go up because of the recent addition on YouTube for the gifted memberships, but that doesn't actually help out apparently. So I was wrong in my prediction there. So just chatting, the category just chatting on Twitch is the most popular with 828 million hours watched. So the key takeaways this time around for this particular report, all platforms went down no matter what, but the hours streamed is 12% decrease from last quarter, as we can see here from last quarter. As you can see, hours watched in quarter one, which of course is leading the way with 6.13 billion. YouTube is at 1.13 billion last quarter and 803 million for Facebook at last quarter. But this quarter, you're going to notice that for hours watched, everybody went down. So Twitch went down to 5.64 billion, YouTube went down to 1.13 billion, and Facebook went down to a 580 million. Now, it doesn't look like a much decrease. I'm going to tell you now though, when we get into the graphs, it's going to show more. And then our stream in quarter two, no matter how you slice it, Twitch is always going to win. But they are only at 204 million. YouTube is only at 8.04 million. And Facebook is only at 7.94 million. Compared to what we got for the supply and demand. Okay, so compared to last quarter, as you can see here, they all went down by a little bit. The last quarter, Twitch was at the 229 million. YouTube was up at 8.67, and then Facebook was up at 12.5 million last quarter. So obviously, all three went down. And we're going to take a look at the charts in just a moment. Now, I don't usually dive into esports, so that's for you guys if you watch a major like Call of Duty, Valorant, MSI. So if you guys take a look at that, that's for you guys. And top publisher, if you guys like Grand Theft Auto, that's for you. Rockstar is there. Take-Two Interactive was nice, and Riot Game was up as well. And in top categories, obviously Just Chatting is going to win. Then we have a big, nearly tie, League of Legends and Grand Theft Auto. So those are your top three categories for quarter two. So if we take a look at the hours per watch combined, everybody went down combined too. So as you can see, we have a quarter two report of 2022 of 736 billion. The peak was in quarter two of 2021 at 8.99 billion. So obviously they went down 8.4% compared to previous quarter. If we take a look at the previous quarter, as you can see here, I don't think they do the 3 graph. No, they only did the 1, but it went down for sure. Viewers watched 7.36 billion hours of content across the 3 platforms: Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch, down down from 8.06 billion in the previous quarter. So it went down nearly a billion hour. Now, you don't get me wrong, that's still a lot of hours, but it went down. So year over year, hours watched across all platforms went down by 18% from 8.99 billion in quarter 2 2021, and you can see that here year to year from quarter 2 21 22 21 to quarter 2 2022. So by quarter yearly, so they went down by about nearly a billion. Hours watched, hours streamed. So if you're thinking about supply and demand, hours, if you stream, you are supplying. If you are watching, you are demanding. That's how you have to view the graph. So if you're a streamer, you are supplying something. If you are a watcher, you are demanding to watch something. So that's the supply and demand curve if you are a streamer content creator. So hours streamed per hours watched across all platforms went down to a 220 million when it comes to hours streamed. So that went down by 12% compared to previous quarter. If we take a look at that particular graph, here it is. So it was at 220 something million here. Now it's at 220 million here. That is a 12% down. So year to year, it's going to be 19%, 19.4% down from 273 billion, excuse me. What about hours watched? If now we're going to go into the platform by platform, Twitch, Facebook, YouTube, and no matter how you slice it, they all went down. But now we're going to get into the deeper analysis of each platform. Twitch is at 5.645 million this quarter. The absolute peak was in quarter 1 2021 at 6.511. So if we take a look at that, it went down by 8% from the previous quarter, and then from year to year, 13.4% down from 6.51 billion in quarter 2 2021. However, Twitch still represents the 76.7% market share. So if you're looking at market share value, Twitch is still going to be king because they have the most streamers, the most content, at 76.7% of the market share. Keep that in mind if you're thinking about the business analytics of streaming. So if we take a look at the previous one here, so here was the last quarter, hours streamed went up, this one went down. Hours streamed in quarter 2 2022 on Twitch went down to its, I think, nearly down peak. If we take a look at this properly. So it's at 204.2 million. Last quarter, it was at 229 million. 0.0. Look at quarter 2 2020. It was at 203.9 million. It's about to crack down. It's about to get close to where it was flooring on this graph. Now, obviously, there are some things that happened, like the pandemic actually went up because the hour stream went up because people were locked inside with the pandemic. Now, that the pandemic is starting to lessen a little bit, people returning to work, people returning to school, then our stream goes down. Okay, so obviously there are some IRL things to consider, but that is a 10.8% decrease from previous quarter and a 16% from year to year. If we take a look at quarter two and quarter one, I mean quarter two this year, quarter two last year. Now unique channels, this is where the demand is, the supply is. How many channels are there from this year and last year? So obviously there's some factors to consider, but the unique channels in quarter two this year was at 9.6 million. Last quarter, when we take a look at it, it was at 10.9 million. So a few things to consider when it comes to unique channels. These are channels streaming on Twitch or YouTube or Facebook, depending on which platform you're looking at. And this one is talking about Twitch. But this doesn't mean there are 9.6 million streamers. These are channels based on that particular format. Now you can see the peak was at quarter one 2021. Obviously pandemic and other factors, and it went down to the 9.6 million. So here's what they said. That's a 12% decrease from previous quarter and a 15.8 decrease from last year. So we take a look at quarter two and quarter one of 2021 and 22 respectively. Okay, so the demand, or the supply I should say, is went down a little bit. Now there's another factor that you have to consider now. Recently, if you're looking at the news of YouTube in particular and Twitch, there has been some sort of new development, including the possible move of YouTube in terms of Ninja, the biggest streamer, is possibly coming to YouTube. Therefore, that's a channel that might be coming to YouTube. However, another factor you have to consider is business deal. Some streamers from Twitch are moving to YouTube not only because of like, oh, there's an audience on YouTube, but because YouTube is trying to sign streamers from Twitch to YouTube and possibly to Facebook too. So you have to consider the business aspect of these graphs. Now it's not a huge bunch of streamers, but it's the big boys like Ninja, Dr. Disrespect, Cloud, not Cloud, there's another one that I think that's famous, but they're going to YouTube, or they're signing with Facebook, one of the two. So this, you have to consider that aspect. How about platform CCV, or concurrent viewership? So if you never heard of this term before, basically how many viewers are you putting in your channel at the same time? Now of course these numbers are going to be way off the charts because it's based on all three. But if I told you that one of my streams is 13 viewers, then my CCV in one stream is 13. Then my next stream is 13 more, so my average of CCV is 13. But then I have a 14 stream on Wednesday, for example. My CCV will be 13 plus 13 plus 14 divided by about 3. And then that's your CCV. So what is the CCV this quarter? This quarter it is 2.56 million. Last quarter it was obviously higher. So you're looking at a CCV down from last quarter. I mean, that's not a big boy decrease, but it is a little bit of a concern, especially on Twitch, the biggest boy of the three. If we take a look at that, decrease from 7.9% from last quarter and 14.3% from last year. Okay, so that was on Twitch. I mean, it doesn't look bad, but with all the things that are coming to Twitch now, I have a prediction that I want to share with you later on in the end of all three. Now, just chatting, there is a particular category of just chatting. Just chatting is its own category on Twitch. There is one on Facebook, but I believe you need to be a partner to be on the just chatting category. So what just chatting is, it's its own category of content. And I'm going to compare that with last quarter as well. Actually, they don't have it on last quarter, but assume that it went up last quarter. So here is the just chatting category since quarter 3 of 2020. Now, as you can see here, it went up, then down, then up. The quarter 2 this year is 828.1 million in terms of hours watched. So it's the most category ever since quarter 3 of 2020. And even though there is an overall decrease, the category itself grew at 2.4%, reaching its highest ever hours watched. So this is the only thing that went up in terms of category. Now we're going to get into YouTube. That is my platform. I really think YouTube is my streaming home soon. I'll talk about that in a moment. This one we're going to go back into comparing. So hours watched went down. Actually, it went up just a little bit. I mean, very tiny. As you can see here. Just this quarter. Let's see last quarter though. Okay. From this quarter, it's at 1.131 million. So it went up by about some very small number. So what is this telling us? Hours watched on YouTube gaming remained flat. It remained flat from last quarter at 1.13 billion hours. That's believe it's B. It meant to say billion. Here, year to year, it has declined 13% down from last year. Now, YouTube itself, in terms of market share, is 14.4% of the pie. So there was actually 4 platforms that was on the report way back in the day. That included Mixer, but they don't exist anymore. So YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch ate up, got all of them. And that's how we got to 15.4% of the market share on YouTube. Now, what about hours streamed? So the peak was absolutely in quarter 2, 2020 because of pandemic, and then it went down, and it kept going down to a flat 8 million even this quarter. Last quarter, if we take a look at it, it was at 8.7 million. If we take a look at this, it was a 10%, 0.8 decrease from last quarter, and the stream went down by 9.6% in terms of last year. In terms of representation, 3.7% of the market share in terms of hours streamed for that time period. How about channels? Let's take a look at this. The channels went down too, from a peak at 1.09 million to Now 432K thousand. Last quarter it was still like that at 494,000, and that is a 12.6% decrease from last quarter. And then if you take a look at year to year, it's a 27.6% decline. So you're talking about a huge chunk of the pie at this point from last year. Now you have to remember, because of pandemic and because of other factors. So what other factors are included with YouTube gaming in terms of hours of unique channels? First off, pandemic started to go down. I believe it was starting to go down 2021, 2022. It's still there's still a pandemic, but it's not as bad as 2020. So the channels went down because of going back to work, going back to school, etc., etc., etc. So that's another one factor you have to consider. Another factor you have to consider is you have to consider the channels trying to move over to different platforms, like YouTube to Facebook or YouTube to Twitch, or some channels got suspended too. That's another factor you have to consider. Some channels got suspended, some channels got terminated, and some channels are dormant. That's another factor you have to consider. So all three factors go into 422,000 in terms of that. So you have to consider that. What about CCV? CCV went down to 518,000, which is a 1% decrease from last quarter. It's the smallest decrease I found here on this report. But it's still a 13.5% from last year. So it still went down by a lot. Okay? Now Facebook, now this is the one I've been interested in for a little bit. So what did Facebook do last quarter? Last quarter, if you were with me when I was doing this on Facebook, we actually unlocked something called the supporter badge. And what the supporter badge is, it's basically a Twitch sub in terms of like Facebook. Why is this significant? This is significant because Facebook actually allowed us to have it for selected streamers apparently. I didn't even know about it until I was streaming Warzone that night. And that night, we were playing the first night of Warzone Plunder, not Plunder, but Fortune's Keep, and I unlocked it. I will tell you, I have zero subscribers there. Okay, so at this point, I think Facebook is trying out some plays. But is it working in terms of me? No. But for others, yes, and I applaud them. Okay? So how did that translate into the streaming report? Facebook gaming, here we go. Hours watched went down to 580 million from quarter 2 2022 and quarter 1, which is a 28% decrease. I think that's the highest one for a while here. And that is a year-to-year decline of 51%, basically half of the streamer. Half of the hours watched is dropped. Obviously, pandemic is slowing down, but there's other factors too. You have YouTube, you have Twitch. Okay, so you have to think about that. You also have Facebook gaming app. So you have to think about a lot of factors. The peak was in quarter 1, 2021. Quarter 3, excuse me, I'm reading that wrong. At 1.293 billion. Facebook gaming only represents 7.9% of the hours watched for the market share. How about gaming total hours streamed, that is? 7.9 million this quarter from 12.6 million last quarter, which is a 37% decrease. And if you think about it, from last year, that's 62% down. And I'm gonna tell you, it's not because it's besides the pandemic. There's another factor you have to consider here now. The algorithm for Facebook isn't as good as YouTube and Twitch. Now, I put Twitch in third place. It is the best algorithm for content. I actually put Twitch in last place. But YouTube's algorithm, Facebook's algorithm is so weird. I'm going to be explaining it in an episode of Yuki Stream Zone sometime in a few weeks. But we have to talk about it because if you're planning to stream on Facebook, I'm going to tell you it's a lottery. And I'm not kidding. It's a lottery when it comes to notifications in particular. It's a lottery. So I'm going to explain the algorithm when we get into algorithms for section 3. But in terms of this report, it's only 3.6 million, 3.6% of the market share for hours streamed. How about unique channels? Okay, this is the advantage of Facebook though. This is the only advantage I can see with Facebook. And the reason why is because there's not many people. There's a lot of people on Facebook, but not a lot of people streaming on Facebook. So if you take a look at this, obviously pandemic went up to 1.54 million in quarter 1. But after pandemic, it went all the way down to 283%. 283,000 streamers, channels, excuse me. And I'm actually going to add one channel. I'll explain that later on in our Ryuki roundup show. But 2022 quarter 2, it went down to 283,000. Now, obviously, same factors apply. Pandemic slowing down, people going back to work and school. But there's another thing, algorithm. The third thing, algorithm, is because a lot of people are not getting found as much as Facebook and in terms of content. They're more going to be likely found on YouTube and Twitch because of the algorithms. So I really think Facebook's algorithm is what is pushing this down more than the pandemic. Because the pandemic is number one why it's going down in terms of hours unique channels, because the pandemic is slowing down, but also because of the algorithm of Facebook. Unless you really know what you're doing on Facebook, everybody's moving over to Twitch or YouTube. So that, compared to last quarter, is a 15.5% decrease. And if you decline it from last year, it's 66.3% down from last year. So basically, more than about two-thirds of the platform went down. The channel, excuse me, from last year. From quarter 2 of 2021. Okay, so that's a lot. That's a huge decrease. The CCV also shows up at 266,000, which is 28%, and dropped more than half from last quarter. And finally, if you guys are into esport, which I know a lot of you are, The top one is the PGL Major, the PGL Major Tournament, the Valorant Masters Tournament, and MSI. And your top categories, of course, are the top three, the most popular. Just Chatting, Grand Theft Auto 5, League of Legends. Your top publishers are Riot Game, and then Rockstar, and then Take-Two. So the next report, most likely, I'm going to make a prediction now. It is the prediction round. It's time for the prediction round of today's content. And here's what I'm thinking. I have to do this educated guess at this point because I want to see where we are standing as streamers. Now, there is more for streamers than content creators. So here's what I'm thinking. Twitch, I really think is going to go. This one's harder because last quarter I said down. I was right. I believe I said going down last quarter and I was correct. This next quarter, quarter 3, I really think is going to go. I think it's going to go up by a little bit. I really think it's going to go up just a little bit. But the reasons behind that are just because of just chatting, and then this nudge here, because it's going up, down, up from last quarter and stuff. So down, then go up. I really think it's going to go back up again. Now, in terms of like channels, I really think it's going to go down. I really think it's going to go down again on Twitch. TCV, I think it's going to go down too. Just Chatting is always going to go up. I really think Just Chatting is going to go up. YouTube, in terms of hours watched, I think that's going to go up next quarter. Our stream, I think that's going to flat. I think that's going to go going to go up by very slight increase. I really think the only reason why the hours watched is going up because if the rumor of Ninja coming here to YouTube is true, then expect a lot of viewers because of Fortnite or whatever game he plays. I really think that's going to go up just because. If I'm right because of that factor, then yes, then I was correct. But the only other factor I can see this going up is if something happens where major streamers start moving to YouTube more, then this is going to go up. But the only reason why I'm going to say it's going to go up next quarter is if that rumor of Ninja moving to YouTube becomes a reality. As far as our stream, that's going to go, I really think it's going to go up very slightly. I really mean very slightly. How about unique channels? Channels are going to go down. I really think on YouTube, channels go down because they're looking at opportunities on Twitch. I really think so. But you have more of a chance to grow on YouTube than you have a chance to grow on Twitch. And you have a better chance to grow on Facebook than you do on Twitch. Only because of how many channels there are. How about CCV? I think that will go up by a little bit. Next quarter for Facebook. Total hours stream watched, I think is gonna go up. It's gonna go up by a little bit. I'm not sure how much. By a little bit though. Very little. Our stream, I think, is gonna go down now. The only reason why is because I really think Facebook streamers want to see growth, and everybody wants to see growth. But I really think Facebook streaming is going to go up, I mean down, our stream rather than up. Because they're going to go look for YouTube, they're going to look for Twitch, they're going to try to be like Ninja, or they're trying to be like Shroud, or Dr. Lupo, Dr. Disrespect, etc., etc., etc. So I think it's going to go down with our stream. Next quarter for channels, I think this is where it gets interesting. Unique channels, I think, is going to go down. Only because, again, like I said, people are going to go move to YouTube or to Twitch. I'm actually moving. Let me tell you this. I said I was going to tell you my thing about going to YouTube. And that might be a thing only because of my VR chat streams. But there's something else I'm working on that I want to talk about later. But channels on Facebook, I think it's going to go down. How about the CCV? Down. I think it's going to go down. And I think overall, if I'm going to predict something, I think overall, by the time we see this next quarter, hours watched overall, I think is going to go down for Twitch and Facebook. Hours watched. Our stream is also going to go down. I think all three will go down again this next quarter. The next quarter report should be out by October because the next quarter already started. Because it's July, August, September. So we are in the last month of the third quarter. So they're going to release a report either in October or November. I think here's where the trend is. The closer you get to Christmas time, the more hours watched and the more hours stream you get. Because quarter one, you see how it went up from quarter 1, 2022. It went up. So I really think it's going to go up at that point. But again, let's see where it goes from here. And let's try to predict. Those are my predictions, ladies and gentlemen. And that is it for the Streamlabs Stream Hatchet report breakdown. If you have any questions about this particular report, make sure you either comment below or another person you should ask, Devin Nash, because he knows how to read material like this. I just break it down just by numbers and stuff. Because Devin Nash is the one that really dives deep into agencies and stream reports like this. So make sure you guys check him out. Devin Nash on YouTube. Okay, so that's it for the Hatchet report. If you have any questions, let me know. If you want me to break down something else for this particular category of Yuki Stream Zone, let me know. And I'll be telling you guys we will have a Discord for Yuki Stream Zone sometime in the very near future. Enjoy and happy streaming, or I should say, happy gaming.